Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to Beyond the Headlines. I am Stephenson, Worme, your host tonight, but I should let you know that a little later on, maybe about 15 minutes or so, I would have Stanford Simon, who in fact will be joining me. And we will be having an open line situation this evening, so this is a fine opportunity for those of you who normally would want to call and express yourself, and because we may have limited time for callers, you may not be able to do so. Well, tonight is a special time and special opportunity for you to call in, and you can express your feelings, you can tell us what you want. So we'll be looking at the pulse of the nation tonight, of course, as we continue on our move towards elections. Now, don't forget the date set is June the 23rd, which means that just about 10 days or so remaining before the big day, and it is going to be a big day for everybody, all and sundry. Your host and regardless, of course, what party you are backing, as we usually say here in Grenada, the issue is it's going to be a big day. So we will in fact have the line open for you, and let me quickly tell you, first up, the number is 440-1252. 440-1252. We'll be looking at the pulse of the nation and in regards to election. And we want to also ask you out there, what's your thoughts? There are people who believe that all has already been accomplished. Those who are canvassing, the politicians, and of course their aides, they have done sufficient to get people aligned to them, to their respective parties. There are others who are saying, no, not really. There's still quite a lot of work to be done. So let's hear your thoughts tonight. Are there still others on the fence, still indecisive as to whether they're going to vote or not, or if they will vote, as to who they will vote for? So that's the big question we have. Are there still others on the fence that needs to come down from the fence and be decisive as to who they will vote for? So we'd open up the line immediately. It's 440-1252, 440-1252. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. We also want to welcome those who are in the diaspora. You're out there, you're listening to us. And look, whether you're national or you're non-national, I know there are a lot of people out there who just seem to be intrigued and interested and fascinated about what's going on in regards to Grenada's politics. There are a lot of uniqueness here in Grenada, so we'll give you an opportunity to call in and tell us your thoughts. Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we do that, we're gonna come back and we're gonna await your calls. We'll be right back.
They are the few, the strong, the elite. Grenada, get ready as our sporting gladiators go for gold and glory at the World Championships. Follow every throw, stride and jump from July 15th to the 24th. Capture the action daily on GBN television. It's the World Championships. The dream continues.
James is going to win it.
Community Partnership Initiative, supporting education.
To date, we have given 25 libraries away, and we are building a 26 in partnership with the Grenlec Community Partnership Initiative in Carriacou at Dover. It is the second grant that we would have got from Grenlec. We were able to build a 625 square foot library in Dover, and now we are so very grateful.
Grenlec, energizing our community.
When you need your prescription filled or you require non-prescribed medication, supplements, or all your personal needs, visit Gittins Healthcare at locations on Wall Street, Grand Anse, Victoria Street, Grenville, and Central Deputy Street, Wharf. Gittins Healthcare aims to provide an exceptional personalized pharmacy experience. Additionally, children under 5 and adults 55 years and over will enjoy 10% discount on purchases of $20 and over on prescription medication. Stop settling for less. Visit Gittins Healthcare, where your health is our priority.
Adonis Menswear, located at Spiceland Mall, Grand Anse, specializes in quality men's clothing. They offer the best in casual and formal wear. During the month of June, in celebration of Father's Day, Adonis offers discounts on selected items: suits, pants, shirts, socks, and more. All items on discount will have a green label. So, what are you waiting for? Shop at Adonis Menswear today for outfits to suit any occasion. They're open Monday to Saturday. For more information, call 439-1212.
Total is one of the world's largest oil companies with a top quality line of lubricants. Total Lubricants has a full product line from passenger cars, motorcycle, heavy industrial equipment, mining, trucking, agriculture, and manufacturing machines and vehicles. Total Lubricants, winning championships in motorsports, including Formula One and World Rally Championships. Total Lubricants are available at all Rubis service stations, leading automotive shops, and distributed by Huggins.
Do more with your new GUT Credit Union Visa debit card, which gives you access to your cash at any Connex or Visa certified ATMs locally and internationally. Make your payments with a tap of your card using the contactless feature and have the freedom to make purchases locally, online, or overseas whenever you travel, anywhere Visa is accepted. Experience the enhanced security fraud protection through the Visa chip technology. If you don't have your new GUT Credit Union Visa International debit card, speak to any one of our representatives today to do more. Your new GUT Credit Union Visa International debit card, a smarter way to access your cash. More smart, more secure.
And welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. Just before break, I did intimate to you that we have Pastor Stanford Simon with us in the studio here this evening. And I did say that he'll come here in about 15 minutes, so I was sort of catering him for quarter past the hour. But he, as usual, surprised me here and there, so he's with us in the studio. You came a little earlier than anticipated, but welcome.
Well, it's good to be here. I thank you and GBN for the opportunity to come be here and to be co-host with you this evening to talk politics.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I'm kind of excited about it because politics, I love politics, as students of politics. I think it's just interesting to hear and to see what people are thinking. And you're 2 weeks away from the election, and all the discussion and the rivalry and the picking and all of that. It is really fun. I'm looking forward to what question person would ask and the discussion we'll have, because really tonight's program is for the audience, not so much for us.
Yeah, we'd want to hear from you, and just a reminder that the number you would want to call is 440-1252. The line is already open, and we want our line tonight to be flooded with calls. Just let them come like popcorn, so to speak, one after the other. Very interesting when you talk about popcorns these days.
Well.
See. What's your thoughts, though? You like how things have been going so far?
Yeah, I think for one, you have...
All right, Sano, I'm going to put you on break because we got our first call and we want to at least give them that sort of honor. Caller, good evening and welcome. Go right ahead, caller. Okay. We may have lost the caller, or if not, we're not really hearing the caller. I would advise the caller, please try again, and don't forget 440-1252. Do we still have the caller online, or the caller's gone? All right. So how have things gone so far? The build-up has been several months.
Several months, but I think it's interesting that you reach to the final 2 weeks of the election. And just yesterday, I was going up to a function on the eastern side of the island, and you see, the greens are going one direction, the yellow is going one direction, and and persons every junction you meet, there is a whole lot of people standing waiting for their buses. It's just a real excitement, and the music is playing and people shouting out the window.
Anyhow, we've got our first caller. Caller, good evening.
Good night, pastors, and how are you?
But for the most part, fine, thank you.
I'm calling from St. Patrick. I'm very excited to be in your program tonight. this is the end of the election season, and it's 2 weeks, a week or so before the campaign would end. But it's rather frightening to me. I haven't seen one of the political parties come to my home and ask me for my vote.
That's interesting. That's highly interesting.
One.
Southwest?
Well, if they don't come and ask me for my vote, I'm not going to cast my vote, you know. I'm going to sit down in the house.
But that's not a good thing.
Well,
yes, because no, they're supposed to come to me and ask me and tell me what are the programs. I listen to television, I listen to the radio, but they have not come to my home and campaign, and the election is just about a couple of days from now.
Well, let's say also, I don't know the official figure in regards to, of course, the people in the statistical department would know about that, but I don't know how many households that there are in Grenada, and to be able to comb all of these homes over a few months, that is a tall asking. It is a tall asking, and maybe for some reason or the other they may have just missed your home. Well, maybe either of the political party, both of them would know your voice, and the fact that you're from St. Patrick, that might help a bit. So it has zeroed in that there is somebody in the northern parish whose home has not yet been visited.
St. Patrick, east or west?
Well, if they don't visit me, well, my vote wouldn't cost for each of them, and that would cost somebody a seat.
So let me ask you, is it that the person who comes to you first, or the only individual, that's the one you're going to vote for? Have you already made up your mind?
Well, I have not made up my mind as yet. I listen to news, I listen to all the rallies on television, but none of the political parties' campaign people have come to my home and asked me, well, look, sir, we are here and we are campaigning and we are asking you to cast your vote for XYZ, and if they don't come, I'm going to remain home right on election day. Pastors, thank you very much, and good night.
Okay, thanks. It's interesting because the caller is not the only person who has expressed the same thing. I have met individuals who have said to me that nobody has visited their home as yet, and wondered why that has not taken place. And they think that their votes are significant, especially if they've got a pretty decent household, 4, 5, 6 of them in a household. That could make a huge difference.
I totally agree, but people also have to understand that to visit every home is quite a challenge, especially when an election is called and where the political parties are doing so many things on the individual. I agree, they should try to visit every home. That's the objective, but I think every person still have a responsibility to go out and vote, despite they may not come to visit you at your house, but you should be able to look and see and decide which candidate most help you and so bring forward your view, and you agree with them, and therefore you would vote for that candidate. Right.
And besides that, we're going to go to a caller. Besides that, of course, we also have a lot of pocket meetings. They're town hall meetings. So sometimes if the mountain cannot come to you, you would have to go to the mountain. We've got another call on the line. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Very well.
Okay. I think that 99.9% of the voters have already made up their mind as to who they're voting for.
Yeah, anything else?
Yeah, and I think that the election will boil down. I have several to talk about. But let me tie in one thing. I think if you look at the pension issue, I think Grenadians will be, many Grenadians, especially public servants, will be voting based on that.
Okay.
They'll be voting based on that because the way they were treated, because if you look at the pension issue, the salary was docked for going to match for the same pension issue. And look at today, up to today, they're not sure, okay, because the NMP say that they cannot pay the pension before, since 2018. And all of a sudden, election time, they say that they will pay it. They didn't say how and when they will pay it. So I think all these things will come into effect. People will think, and I think people will vote for a change.
Okay, thanks a lot, caller. Well, we just confirmed also that in the comments that somebody has just put up that, well, nobody has visited me as yet.
Are they going to vote?
But it seems to me, Stanford, that people would like to have people come to them. They feel a sense of belonging. They want to feel important in the whole political process. So we're going to come back to you with that one. Caller, thank you for holding. Go right ahead, please.
Yes, good night to the panelists.
To you
Good
too.
night.
I show similar sentiments to the caller before that. I mean, nobody came to my home. I mean, I don't expect them to actually come to every household, you know. The time, 1 month is pretty short. But you are giving yourselves up. I mean, we're forgetting here. We don't, the politicians work for us. We don't work for them. You are coming for a job. I should have the ability to be able to question you. Okay? I notice slightly what is different by the NDC. You have a town hall meeting where you can actually question the individual. Why should I vote for you? What programs you have? I noticed I went to a couple of the New National Party pocket meetings, and I could not get a question in. And if you could get a question in, the supporters will get so angry that you will actually not side with the candidate. It's crazy, man. So you can't really ask any questions in the pocket meetings, you know? I mean, they should really adopt the NDC style where you can actually question them. You know what I mean? But I believe, a lot of people have, I believe over 90% of people have actually made up their mind, you know? So the undecided, I believe, is very small. And I notice an absence of professionals at the meetings, okay? Working people, the majority of people at most of the meetings, the pocket meetings, are poor people like me. No professionals, no doctors, no lawyers, no teachers, no people from Grenlec. Absent of these things. And you can't ask no question, man. It's NDC is a bit refreshing with the approach they actually take. So I believe, let me hear you taking it, guys, and good night to the panelists.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I want to know that you said that, and there's a second caller said they believe 90% of the population have made up their minds. So there's a 10% that, let's say that the independent voters have made up their mind, and they are the one pretty much that will decide the election. Because think about it, most elections are won or lost in each constituency within 300 to 500 votes. And therefore, that 10%, but we have how much, about 60,000 voting population in terms of what we have.
Yeah, we're going to give the figures shortly. We've got somebody on the line. Good evening, caller. Thanks for holding. Go right ahead, please.
Well, good evening, Pastor Worme and Pastor Simon.
Yes.
I saw on the television that this Jamaican lady was campaigning for us here. And what came to my mind, a few years ago, there was a lady, Miss Webley, came and she was campaigning and very active part of the New National Party. And I was the one that drew her attention, and I said to her, where were you in Jamaica when all the blind people were placed and the building catch a fire and no one saved? You say your heart broken for Grenada and you were so sad, but you hasn't mentioned anything regarding that. So however, what I want to say is this. Where was this Jamaican campaigner on the platform during our struggle in Grenada? For instance, I am a geriatric care. That's what I do. A year ago, before the pandemic, I asked publicly on the radio, on the TV, if the senior citizens can get at least $500 per month. And the Prime Minister did respond. He says, where is this money going to come from? But where was this lady when I was asking that question? Now she is saying how well the party is doing because they just increased the monies from $300 to, I think, $450, something like that. Where was this lady when the teachers were struggling and the public servants for their pension that is rightfully due to them? Where was this person, this lady that campaigned in our platform now when we can't go to the supermarket to make groceries? And I can go on. So when you look at it, all these things that is happening now is not something that happened yesterday. It's already planned. And because of the campaign, the monies come from wherever, and road dispatching, this is doing, everybody is working, promises is making, and so many empty promises. But hey, Pastor, I tell you what, this one for the road, this is about the third election that I've been hearing that this is the Dr. Mitchell's last, and he's not going to run again. You see, I don't live in of a politician. And I can't, this is my freedom to say what I feel, how I feel. I'm not disrespecting anybody, but in my observation, I don't believe it. And then on the other hand, Pastor, this money is coming from nowhere. Now the Prime Minister is promising, and here it was the term, he will make the road workers almost permanent, almost, by giving them 3 fortnights. Well, I don't know if it's a month, because I have 3 fortnights in a month or a year. So when the people don't listen, almost, what they're going, I'll be permanent and do my thing and get food to eat. Now, Pastor Worme, no, I'm taking your time, but hear this. You see, this Imani is like welfare. I've never been on welfare, but I traveled, and I have ideas. Now, you can't send a small change home to your parents. You can't sponsor them. You can't be of any help. You've been monitored, how you spend, what you do, and how you do. In the Imani program here, the Imani program is a good program, but it's handled wrong in my experience. Because these people cannot
could we give you 45 seconds more?
Yeah, thank you. Yes. We cannot move forward to help themselves, the children, the old parents, but they're like a handout. So I'm asking the people to think, open their minds, think, and know exactly what they're doing, what they want coming for this election. Thank you, Pastor Worme, Pastor Simon, for the time.
Yes, pleasure. Thank you so much. Well, quite a number of subject matters were addressed here by this caller. Significant subject matters have been addressed or commented on, so to speak. One of the persons have commented that, well, they're Grenadians who also travel across the region. They get invitations to go on the political platform and talk and support their own political preference, so to speak. So it's not alien to have people come in from various countries.
It's normal. I just normally invite somebody from different countries. Grenadians live here. I'm sure Dr. Mitchell even go and support persons. Other candidates leave and go and support other countries. But I think the bigger picture, and for which he's asking, one, the future of the country. Where do we go? Dr. Mitchell making up his mind, of saying, look, I'm done. This is it. I'm going to go. I guess person may be saying, okay, fine. Maybe give us a date and a time when you would go. That may be something that they may be saying, but he's deciding in his mind, listen, this is it for me. I am going. But I think the bigger picture that we all have to examine, and going back to when we had the referendum and saying to us, hey, we need to make a clear decision on how long we will allow political parliament leaders leader of the country to serve. Okay. We didn't vote for it, and that in itself coming back now to face us.
Would you say it's coming back to haunt us?
Well, haunt us. Well,
We've got a caller on the line. Caller, good evening.
Hi, good night.
Thanks for holding.
Yes, I come back on that Imani program. Now, I was working with a company, and I remember that our company used to be taking in young children to work. And some of them, they had no experience. They were rude, you could not have talked to them, and all sorts of things of them. Some was good. And I think the business people with the government, which was the NMP government, came up with this program named the Imani, that they could train, they take them into work, that they will train, and out of that training, they will get a job. Right? I remember clearly that. And you know, I find people really going down on the Imani children. A lot of the children that is in that Imani program, they got permanent. Some of them, I know that one that I had helped, and that child reached a long way. I think she's working with a permanent secretary now. Right? A lot of them, they had needed training. They had needed training, and a lot of them had got permanent jobs with the private sector, the hotels, and even with government. So I don't know what is this thing about the Imani we have. We all have to start from somewhere, and we all have to try to help them to reach somewhere. Right? And I think that the NMP government did an excellent job by taking in the young children to train them and call them the Imani.
Okay, thanks a lot. I think by and large, Stanford, if we listen to views across the country, people have said that the Imani program is a good idea. As to all the details surrounding it and the execution of the program, I think that's where some criticisms have gone.
Right, I think that's where the problem lies. What a person come into the program, how long do you stay?
Yes.
And how do you exit the program? Because the point, you didn't exit for another set of persons to come in. I think what is happening, too many persons staying too long in the program. But keep in mind that the job opportunity we have in our country is very limited. So if they go off the program, where do they go? What do they go to do? That creates another problem for the government. So I think in some way the government may be trying to find that bridge, but for the businesses in Grenada, they may not have the capacity to hire more persons because the model we have is not working for us. But I agree that we need to relook at the Imani program and how it has been executed. I think that's where the problem. It's an excellent program, but
yes,
it needs to be looked at.
But we have to go beyond that and begin to understand the importance of expanding our business modules. That's very important.
Yeah, but we need a bigger population.
You have more than a point there. We've got another call on the line. Caller, good evening.
Indeed, Mr. Worme, good evening and good evening to what's your name? Pastor Simon, yes, greetings. Because there shall be messages here this evening. Mind you, I'm not campaigning for anybody, I'm campaigning for my Grenada and nothing else.
Right.
And what is good for her. Listen, I want to begin with the money. You know something? The Minister for Youth, and I'm telling you youth, because that is how they spell it, Y-U-T. I don't understand, for the love of me, how Y-U-T can be youth, Y-O-U-T-H in the English language. And you know I'm a pedant for that. But they call it youth. They have one they call youth biz, and they say youth biz. I don't understand. But anyway, the minister responsible for quote-unquote youth according to the establishment of the state organism, she doesn't even know the meaning of Imani. Publicly, she admitted it one morning on a radio program. She doesn't even... Imani is a Swahili word, Swahili used on the east of Africa for faith, F-A-I-T-H. I don't know why they call it, but what point I'm trying to get at? And both of you ought to know what faith is. To cut it short, faith without work. And when we refer to work here, it means advancement, displacement, action, positive most of all. So the whole program that is established here and the way it is done is a fast, a total fast. Now, let's get it straight. Our young people have the right, institutionally, constitutionally, to a proper education and proper training to enhance their quality as adults, to make a living for themselves and to move the country forward. But this Imani is a partisanized gimmick. Partisanized because it's done by a political party, and the training is poor because in fact it is not enhancing the quality of the young men and women of the day. They're being brambled and bluffed. What we need in this here country is an institution. I will call it this way for now. A national institute. I call it nicely. National Institute for Students of Inconclusive Education, institutionalized, so that our young men and sons will learn good things and learn them well, so that they can help in the advancement and development of the country and themselves. This Imani, as it is a farce. But bear in mind, I said our young people have the right to be properly trained so that they can contribute to the development of the country. I want to end by saying this. As a Grenadian, I take insult to these foreigners coming in here, and nothing more than meddling in the internal affairs of the politics of my country. I condemn. I wish I could have used a word. If I was in the street, I would have probably used another word. Humbug all of them who come inside the weather to sing song and to mamadai and bluff our young people talking in all kind of language that does not even help us in the enhancement of the way we express ourselves. Wasting money, brothers and sisters. Check it out. What is that doing for this here country? What does it do for us? Involvement in the direct political issues of a country is inherent in the internal and political affairs of this country, and of any country, and I condemn these Jamaicans worse yet, because they can't teach anybody anything in the Caribbean. If they were good teachers, the Caribbean would be better. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening, will you?
Thank you very much, Citizen Rollo. And well, it's more than a mouthful there. And of course, we always garner and glean quite a lot from your very useful conversation. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back. And don't forget, of course, we're just checking the pulse of the nation. Are we election ready? We'll be right back.
Here is a little known fact. There is only one place in Grenada that you can get an MRI scan done. That place is Speysile Imaging Center. Yes, Grenada, that's the truth. Other centers could offer you other scans, but Speysile Imaging provides an authentic MRI scan. Here's another little known fact. Speysile Imaging has 3 centers. We operate at Grenville, the Carnage, and at the Ocean House, Grandlands. We provide the widest range of laboratory tests and services. CT scans, x-rays, mammograms, ultrasounds, and a host of other services. We are fully staffed by a team of family doctors and specialists. Call us today at 444-7679. or 406-1500, or visit any of our 3 locations. Speysile Imaging, from seeing the doctor to getting lab tests, scans, and pharmacy services. We are here to take care of you.
Get Ruby Gas. Get cooking. Ruby Gas. Clean, safe, and reliable LPG is the perfect solution for your commercial and everyday needs. For cooking at home or barbecuing, choose Ruby Gas LPG cylinders. Available in a variety of sizes from 20 to 100 pound cylinders. Ruby Gas LPG. Clean, safe, reliable. Are you cooking with Ruby Gas?
In our part of the world, we need to be prepared for natural disasters like storms and hurricanes, even outside of the season. I'm sure you'll agree that keeping our loved ones, homes, and businesses safe is important. So, I came up with a few quick tips to help you stay safe. First, make a family disaster plan and ensure that everyone in your household is familiar and comfortable with it. Remember to add batteries and flashlights to your emergency kit. Now, for electrical safety. Familiarize yourself with your electrical panel, as it may be necessary to switch off the power during a storm or flood. Make sure you install a transfer or isolation switch to prevent your generator feeding electricity to Grenlec's line. If trees are too close to power lines, call Grenlec at 237 for advice. By following these easy steps, you will be well on your way to being hurricane ready. Don't be caught off guard by natural disasters. Prepare now. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
When a loved one passes on, we all need the comfort, support, and guidance of a trusted friend. You can rely on LaCour Brothers Funeral Home. We provide a personalized professional service that exceeds all expectations. Our dedicated staff responds to your every need with the greatest detail, ensuring affordability with a variety of options. Upgraded state-of-the-art facilities, spacious air-conditioned chapel with live internet streaming, a modern, environmentally safe crematorium, the only of its kind on island, private viewing spaces, large on-site repast center, a modern transportation fleet. Join our burial society today and make personalized arrangements for that final moment as you prepare to enter your loved one into eternal rest. Visit or call LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and select a package that brings added comfort to the entire family. LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and Burial Society, continuing a tradition of excellence.
They are the few, the strong, the elite. Grenada, get ready as our sporting gladiators go for gold and glory at the World Championships. Follow every throw, stride, and jump from July 15th to the 24th. Capture the action daily on GBN television. It's the World Championships. The dream continues.
James is going to win it.
And welcome back. We're looking at the pulse of the nation this evening on tonight's program, and it's an open line situation. Most or all, everybody ready to vote on election day? That's the big question that we've got here. We've got a call on the line. Good evening, caller.
Hi, good evening to you, Pastor Worme, and also Pastor Simon.
Good evening to you.
Two men of the cloth. I have a question for you to begin. We pride ourselves about being a God-fearing nation. Not God-fearing, as a matter of fact, we say we are a Christian nation, which I usually challenge. And I prefer to say that we are a God-fearing nation. Is it possible for someone to be God-fearing and yet not fair-minded? Think about it. God-fearing, but not fair-minded.
No, that's
because
no, it's all part of when we talk about God-fearing. You've got to be fair, you've got to be peaceful, you've got to be respectful. All of these are virtues that can be attached to being God-fearing.
Yes, and the reason why I'm asking that is because, so many injustices, so much unfairness, and nepotism and other things of that sort happen. And many times we turn a blind eye on those things and we pretend that they don't happen. And we are still a Christian, God-fearing nation. I don't know how people do that. I take very serious objection to persons from other countries coming here and trying to influence the outcome of elections of Grenadians. Very serious objection to that. And you know, the amazing thing about it, it's being done on behalf of a party, not an upstart party, but a party that has had 5 terms, 5 chances to govern this country before. But to resort to something like that, to me, it is shameful. I mean, we're here, even for a party that's seeking a 6th term, they're not talking about the record. We're speaking about what they would do. Promises. The last couple of weeks, so many promises. But you had 5 terms, 5 opportunities to govern this country before. You don't seem to be going back to what was accomplished during those 5 opportunities of the past. The last concern I have is intimidation. I believe that our electoral process is safe and foolproof. Yet we are hearing over and over people being told that if you don't vote in a certain way, we would know. And we could deal with you. And this is creating terror. Why is that being done? I've heard of folks from the police force. They are being told, yes, we can track it back. And we have a couple of days before the rest of the polls come in. The votes come in. This is terrible. We believe it is foolproof. Why use it to scare persons into voting a way that they shouldn't vote? And my take on this is this. The fact that folks think, in other words, the fact that folks are fearful is because they believe it can happen, although I trust that it can't. But if you are fearful that someone will be so immoral to tamper with what should be a secret ballot, to try to find ways of penalizing you, why would you want such a person to continue governing your country? So if even you had one reason before for not wanting to vote for that, the party that person supports, you have another reason for doing it. But I just hope and pray, and I believe in my heart of hearts, that it is foolproof and this cannot be done. But folks are still using it as a threat over the heads of vulnerable persons to make them vote not their conscience, but out of fear. And this to me is very, very sad.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, caller. Much appreciated. The caller is talking about a fear factor involved here.
I mean, the reality that we face, persons in this country, I don't think persons can tell a person that if they vote for this or that.
But have you heard those stories?
I haven't heard those stories. But I think everybody in Grenada knows you go and vote your conscience, and that's just the way it is. Somebody could talk as much as they want. One would say that person may be afraid of if one party win or the other, they may have a problem, and that's a problem we face in a small island state. You know everybody, and the reality of it is you have to be open in your mind to decide when you go to the poll. You are voting your conscience, and nobody should dictate that. Despite what they may say to you, when you walk into that booth, it's you and God, and you decide who you vote for. They cannot tell you who you vote for. You decide that.
Yeah,
and
but,
I think personally,
yeah, that's interesting. But the callers also made a point. We have a caller online, but let me just quickly say this, that there are people who believe that when they cast the ballot, somehow it could be known.
No, it cannot be known. It cannot be known.
That's the thing, but there are people across the nation who believe that. Well, and that also creates a factor. We'll come back to that.
No, Worme, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Let me say to the people who are listening, when you cast your vote, that cannot be known by anybody. So you should not fear. You should not fear. You should go cast your vote. It's your vote, and it's between you and God.
And I agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. Okay, caller, you're on the line. Go ahead, please, would you?
A pleasant good evening to Pastor Stanford Simon and
Yes.
Pastor Worme.
To you too.
In anything you do, you always have to acknowledge the presence of the Lord. Okay, my views this evening. I'm so happy that this program occurred so that I can give my views. In 2008, last election, I believe it's last election, where the Prime Minister stand on a podium and telling the Grenadian people he went to hell and come back. Okay? This is very disturbing. And every time I think it's time, and that's the end of the Prime Minister, it's time for you to go home and rest.
Well, let me just interject, caller. I think it's all metaphorical. Sometimes we use language is such a powerful thing, and it could be used figuratively too. So the Prime Minister having said that he went to hell and back, it's something that is common. Somebody who went through difficulties, painful situations, traumatic experiences, you may hear that individual referring to the experience as having gone to hell and back. And so we have to be able to differentiate when that is being said, whether it's just a metaphoric expression, or whether indeed the person is actually saying, indeed, I went to literal hell, which is more unlikely. So I didn't hear the context, and I didn't hear the statement, so I don't know entirely the context.
That's why I'm saying it. That's why I'm saying it. Now, you have all this money. You're fixing the road. You're fixing all about. Take this money and fix the hospital. Pay the teachers. Pay the pensioners. Okay? You just squander in money. And at the end of the time, you have lots of people on the less unfortunate, you have to call them. Sometime on Sunday, when I'm eating a correct meal, at the end of the day, you have somebody do not eat nothing for the morning. Take this money and help poor people. Help the poor. Fix the hospital. Pay the teachers. Pay the pensioners. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Okay, caller, you there still? No, the caller was about to go. But we still want callers, please. When you do call us, we know that there are a plethora of different subject matters and items you want to talk about. And we do understand that. But we also want to find out from you, what's your thoughts? Are people's mind fully made up at this point? Do we still have people who are vacillating? They're not too sure. What's your thoughts about that? We've got another caller on the line. Caller, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, go right ahead, please.
Good evening to the panelists.
Good evening.
Pastors. Yes.
Go ahead, caller.
Thank you. I just want to, very interestingly, let me commend you for tonight's meeting. But quickly, I came across a post. You there?
Yeah, go ahead, caller. We're hearing you.
I came across the post by John Adams, the second U.S. president, 1797 to 1801. And here's what he said. Government is instituted for the common good, for the protection, safety, prosperity, and happiness of the people, and not for the profit, honor, or private interest of any man, family, or class of men. Therefore, the people alone have an incontestable, unalienable, and indivisible right to institute government and to reform, alter, or totally change the same when the protection, safety, prosperity, and happiness required. Thank you very much. Good night.
All right. Good night. Thanks a lot. Stanford, you had a contribution you wanted to make?
No. I think we need to think deeply about where we are. The discussion of the issues. People talk about a lot of things, but I think what we want to hear from our representative, from the leader of the opposition, of our leader of the NDC and the Prime Minister, it is what is clearly the plan and the vision of the country. And for us, I think we need to be able to hold them accountable. If you say these are the things you're going to do in the next 5 years, you may not get all of them done, but when you come back to report, you should be saying, okay, these are the 3 things or the 4 things I promise you. These I have accomplished 3. These are the 2 I have not accomplished. These are the reasons why you give me 2 more years to another 5 years to finish it. And then we as the electorate have to hold our politicians more accountable. And again, it comes back to us, not a politician. Is we are not holding them accountable. So then when they're not coming to account to us, then we can't blame them. We have to blame ourselves. The question of questionable persons coming from another country, that's normal. That's not so abnormal. Persons do that all the time across the Caribbean, where persons come in and speak on behalf of. And I think we need to be mindful of the fact that we as Grenadian citizens, at the end of the day, have to make the decision going forward. We have been making that. And therefore, we cannot blame anybody for the government that we get, because we choose the government.
Okay, thanks. We've got a call on the line. Caller, good evening.
Hello, good afternoon.
Go right ahead, please, would you?
Yes, my concern is like most of Grenadians who vote, they are a bit political. Most of them, like maybe about 50% of Grenadians is political illiterate. In the true sense, by saying it that way, they don't understand the real source of voting for a certain, issues. They don't listen at issues. Most of them vote because they like a person or they like a party. You understand? But you have a way where the people should listen to issues and try to educate themselves on what they're going in the poll and vote about. And I find now what I've seen happening in those rallies that I'm watching today is like the majority of Grenadians might go back and vote the same way they vote 5 years ago, 4 years or 5 years ago. And if it's that we're seeing right now, it's obviously it will be the same result. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. We talk also, Stanford, about the whole education of people, and there are people sitting on the fence now, not sure where to go, which direction to go. And a lot has to do with the educational process, the political educational process. Are people willing to learn? That's one thing. Hold on a second. I know you want to jump at it. Are people willing to learn? Or are people who are supposed to be knowledgeable taking advantage of individuals who might be, politically ignorant or not as highly educated as they should be? They pounce on their vulnerability. And so people run with maybe a party, run with a charismatic individual, but as the caller said, the real issues, they never delve into it. So you're going to hold it right there. I see you like a feline of species ready to pounce. Caller, good evening. We won't keep you waiting too long.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I grew up in this country, and I used to look at manifesto. You look what the 2 parties have to offer you, and then you go for the best choice. But it's not that I see now. We don't understand that the job of our politician and the job for we. A politician is supposed to improve the life of his citizens, better housing, education, health. But we're not seeing that now. You'll hear people calling you, asking you what you want. They'll arrange a little road for you. They'll give you a $500 to buy some food. In my age, I can't stand for this thing. Politicians offer you so much. Even this administration, I listened to them over the years, and the amount of promise and promise, and we yet don't see the promise, but we still going over and over and over and vote them in. Well, I'm no youth, I'm no 18 years now, but I make up my mind to go and vote for Deacon Mitchell and the NDC for my grandchildren and my children's future. I'm tired with the promises.
Okay, caller, before you go, let me just quickly ask you, do you think that Grenadians have made up their minds, or do you think we still have quite a few people out there who are still indecisive? What's your thoughts? Quickly,
well, I
30
can
seconds.
I can speak for everybody in Grenada, but I speak to a few young people who didn't meddle with politicians, because they say it's the same thing every time, promising and promising, and after chatting with them, as an elderly in the country, about 9 of them make up their mind. And I know that many people make up their mind for this election. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so very much. So, Stanford?
It is interesting, right? A lot of people say that they make up their mind. When you look at the political stats, right, in the last 3 elections, if we have under 75% turnout, right, you have always the incumbent, you have the NMP win the election. For it to happen, there had to be a high voter turnout for you to see any change, and a huge, over 80%. That's what the figures show. Now, the question is that people talk in Grenada. When time to vote, a lot of people sit home and they go and vote. A lot of people go to the rallies, they go to the things, but when come time to vote, they stay home. And therefore, if a person's thinking in their head, they talk about they want change or time to change or this need to happen. But what are they doing in their own community to have change? I was speaking to someone today, and the question were, we do not have community groups anymore as we used to have. So the emergence of leaders from the community, we're not seeing that. That's why in our country there is a problem with leadership to a great extent, because you're not seeing a lot of leaders emerge from our community. Okay. And that is creating a problem for us.
All right, thanks. We'll go back to the telephone line. Caller, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Thanks for holding.
Yeah, the problem I have with the Imani, for example, there is some Imanis that comes around and teach the children at home, the toddlers, they call them. Lately, I haven't seen them, and I learned that they are campaigning. So it comes like the government are using them when they're supposed to be workers. That's the problem I have with the government use them as a tool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I don't think we want to spend the whole night on the Imani, because that seemed to be a highly controversial subject matter that can take us right through the night. But you've heard those sort of comments coming out, and as I said, there are a lot of other important things that we need to look at. I'm not suggesting that that's not important, because it really is. The fact that it is a subject matter and it's being commented about so with alarming regularity suggests that there are issues here that need rather to be dealt with. But as I said, we're not going to labor on it.
Well, yeah, but I think also that you think about education is an issue. When you look at what's happening in our country, our young people are coming out of school. Where are we putting them? Where are we sending them for scholarship? What kind of scholarship the government is getting for them, or how are they preparing? What kind of availability for loans are there for them? So there are real issues to deal with. We have a high, the last stat I know, we are 60% of our young people is under the age of 30. So we have a very young population. The question is, how are we going to move forward with that youthful population we have? Because we're going to have a problem if we intend to fix it with the education education. Farming is a big issue. Most of the young person don't want to go out and farm. What are we doing? What are both parties presenting to say, okay, how are we going to address the issue of the farmers? Fishing is an issue, the export of fish. How are they dealing with the prices are escalating in construction, in food, wheat. Russia is blocking. I mean, I preach about that on Sunday. In 6 months, I mean, by October, November, we're going to have a real problem. These are real issues. And sometimes I think when people talking about the politicians, we also have to look at ourselves. We have to decide that, and not the politicians. Listen, the politicians only go where we tell them to go or send them. Because if we are in a certain place and people are enjoying this and want this to happen, of course that's where the politician, because if I'm marketing myself, I'm marketing to what you like. And if I could get you to buy my product, I then give you what you want. That's what the politician is doing. So people going and blame the politician is what we Grenadians want. They're giving us what we want, therefore we accept it, therefore we can't blame them as ourselves. We as Grenadians have to take responsibility for the country.
But of course, you've got to also think about educating. Not everybody is as educated as the other. It's important. And we know about self-empowerment and education, but we also understand that to pour into people's lives to help them to be empowered, that is significant. Not everybody can learn on their own. There's some things that people are very gifted in, but there are people who do want guidance in their lives. And I'm one of those strong believers of older people investing into the younger ones. I believe that those who are more experienced should be speaking into the lives of young people, so that, because we've gone some roads that they have not gone, and they really cannot come up to us. We can't come down to them simply because we've gone there before. And I think we need to see a greater mentorship sort of environment, atmosphere in Grenada, where good, solid individuals can pour into the lives of young people so that they can turn out to be good, healthy, educated citizens and responsible citizens.
But I agree with you, Worme. But we as pastors in the church are part to be blamed. We have over 400 churches in this country. Let us be real, right? But we only use our churches for what? Sunday morning service, Wednesday night service. How many of us have used any of our property to say, okay, we're having a session tonight to talk about politics and educate people about the vote and educate them about the country, or bring people in, someone to talk and politically educate them. We tell them politics is bad. They should not get involved in politics. We pastors are part of the problem. The church is part of the problem. Not the politicians alone, but we as a church have not helped our people to be educated about politics. We scare them. We tell them to get away from it. So who are in politics? We blame the politics. We as a church also need to take responsibility for where we are.
And I do agree with you. I can't go against that at all. I believe that man is a holistic being. Man is not only spiritual. He's emotional, he's psychological, he's a social being, he's a physical man. And even the gospel that we preach is for the whole man, not just for spiritual man, but for the whole man.
But that's what we do. We as churches, that's what we do. We only talk about the spiritual, and then what we have had happening over the years, people have abandoned going to political meetings, abandoned getting involved in the political party. What happened? Who emerged? And when we ourselves should be educating our people, get them into the political space so they can help to bring good morals, leadership and guidance, we have run them away from it. So what we're getting now is a result of what we, the church, have created ourselves. Not only the politician, but we have created this.
And maybe that's one of the reasons, because people are uneducated in much regard, and the messages are not very clear and clean.
No.
So people remain there hoping to hear something that can tip them on the other side, that could allow them to make their minds up, that sort of thing. So the question is, there's still quite a few people out there who have not yet made up their minds? I believe there are quite a bit. It may not be a significant lot, but there are quite a bit of people who are still vacillating.
I think they're between 15% of the population. I think 20 to 50% have made up their mind.
Have not made up their mind. That's your feeling.
Yeah, they are on the fence. Speaking to a lot of people, there are persons who are saying, I ain't quite there. I think in the last week, a number of persons have made up their mind, right? So it may shift it down maybe to a 15%, clearly between 15 and 10% of the population saying, I haven't quite. And I think that is where each political party have to convince that 10% or 15%, because you would win or lose the election out of these people who are making up their mind in the last 2 weeks.
Yes. So what therefore, Stanford, should be key messages, potent messages that should get out there to the electorate, to the populace, to get them to move and to finally make up their minds as to exactly what they would do this general election? I haven't heard clear picture painted by neither of the political parties where are they going to take our country in the next 5 years. I hate things they will do, but saying to me, hey, this in 5 years, this is the 3 things or the 4 things we want to accomplish. Clearly defined. I think people are hungry to understand clearly what is going to happen. For instance, we talk about the hospital that we have, and we're talking about a new hospital and healthcare system. What is going to happen with that? That needs to be clearly defined for us. We need a place for the arts, the art form. We don't have that. I know that in Simon they're going to build one of that soon, but I think in the South, how are we going to, what is going to happen? We don't have a proper recording studio here for our artists. I think we bring the Jamaicans in all the time, but Jamaica as a country have invested in the artists and in the industry. The government have. So that needs to be something that is coming. I think the bigger picture, it is our future of our children. How are we, because I think our education system is archaic. It is not at a place where it is helping in the 21st century, where we are, where technology is such a huge part of our everyday life. I think we have not helped our people in that area. I think more money needs to be invested in that. The other thing is, I think it's critical, Grenadians are afraid to take risk. We are not taking risks as a country. So, and I want to say, not my Indian and Syrian friend, nothing against them, but you're talking about risk in regards to business.
Risk in regards
because
to
we take a lot of other risks.
Well, of course, business when it comes to business, and we see persons coming from outside. Some of them come with no money at all. Some of them come with their money, and they start business here and they do very well. We as Grenadians rather keep the money in the bank. I think there need to be and the government have to help take that lead in helping persons in creating the environment for more Grenadians taking risks to have their own businesses and creating that. I think it's critical. They are doing some, but I think more need to be done. And I also want to raise, I think the church need to help the government too. I think the church need to go to talk to the government. Look, we have buildings empty right across the country all through the week. We need to create some sort of programs and go to government and say, look, we want to help persons start their businesses. This is the program we come up with, and being able to put it together. I think it's very important.
Thank you. Let's go across to caller. Caller, good evening.
Pleasant good night.
To you too.
Well, if I can sell a phone, my money would have done.
I'm sorry. I apologize. And I apologize on behalf of my friend here too.
Okay, I'm calling to say I'm ready to go out and exercise my right by voting. I'm going to vote for country, not for man, and for my grandchildren when they grow up to get a proper education and a scholarship. So I'm ready to go to vote for Dickon Mitchell, the NDC.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so very much. We appreciate your calling. Yeah, Stanford, we're just going to go back a bit in time. Mm-hmm. You talk about programs and so many things that the prevailing government incumbent want to continue with, and for the challengers now what they would like to do. But I'll come back to that. We have a caller on the line, so we want to honor and respect the caller. Caller, good evening. Caller, go right ahead.
Yes, pleasant. Good evening. How are you doing, Pastor Simon and the pastor? They bless up.
Good evening.
We're okay.
All right, and yes, I think based on what the caller was saying, if we were on a cell phone, we would have been in problem. Cost of living is very high, and credit does belong fast. All right.
We take note.
My question is, Parliament have been dissolved, and then we still have ministers doing transactions on the country behalf. Right? I think last week a certain minister was doing, they were signing some agreement on the country behalf, which I find it so strange. So my question, why? We have no ministers, excuse me, we have no ministers at the moment that should be representing the country. The only person that should be representing the country is the Governor General. So I find it very funny that business are still continuing as normal. And I'm not certain what happened. I'm not sure what happened, right? Because I'm perplexed. So could you help me with that area? Why certain persons in the Parliament, which already dissolved, they are not ministers of Grenada again. They are normal persons. They are citizens of Grenada right now. They are just like me and you, doing business on behalf of Grenada. Thank you very much.
Good. Now, I can't say I have the answer to this. This is a rather interesting and maybe a little bit of a perplexed one, and maybe somebody else out there who has greater knowledge about it would call. While that is the case, I must say to you that though the Parliament has been dissolved, that does not suggest by any stretch of imagination that everything should just go, as we say, haywire. I think there's still that governmental principle in place so that their hands will be on the pulse of what's taking place, what's going on. They are still in position to guide the country, to look at particular ministries. It doesn't suggest that they cannot do anything pertinent to the government. That is my understanding. Somebody can in fact brief us and maybe elucidate much more. But if you say that they cannot do anything per se, it means that you would leave the country in anarchy. Things are going to fall apart. But that's my response.
I agree with you, but I don't have much knowledge, so I can't speak on that. Somebody should, but at least government must continue, despite the Parliament is dissolved. The administrative working of government have to function.
They're still the elected government.
They're still elected government, yes, until that change happens.
That's correct.
So that hasn't changed.
As to the extent of it, as I say, I don't know, but they're still the elected government, and they're expected to execute matters pertinent to the country. Yeah, we've got another caller. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Pastors, I'm not sure if I heard correctly, but one reason why people don't have a lot of faith in pastor and church people, I think I just heard Pastor Simon said he did not hear from either political party what he will do for the country for the next year or 5 or whatever. Then corrected on the time. Well, if he's saying that, then he probably is listening to one party, and that's where the problem is. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot. So,
no, listen, clearly, the lady was talking last about manifesto, right? Yeah. Persons go on the platform and one person say they'll do this, one person say they'll do that. That's fine. Everybody's saying a number of things that they want to do. But what you have a manifesto used to do is clearly define these are the things we want to do for the government, for our party, or would do. If we win this government, this is what we would do. What you have now is a number of people saying a number of things that they would. So a lot of things. But you could say about 15 things that they want to do. But what are the main things? What are are the 3 or 4 things that you as a government going to focus on in the next 5 years or 4 years to deliver to the country and define to us how you're going to get it done? Not just saying you'll do it, but this is where I'm going to get it done.
Yeah, well, before the caller came, I wanted to bring this back to our memory, and for those of us who've been around for a little while, during the revolution, and I've been hearing quite a lot these days, about the revolution. Yes. The revolution had to be highly impacting after so many years since its fall back in 1983, that there's so many things still spoken about it. But one of the things I was telling somebody about recently is that every year during that 4-year period, there was the year of something. The year of education, the year of whatever. I can't remember all the details about it. So there was a main thrust, there was a main concentration on that year of, let's say, of agriculture. It did not mean that nothing else was looked at. Education was looked at, other subject matters, very important issues were looked at, but there was a concentration that year. You saw it on billboards, you heard it on the airwaves. This is the year of education, as the case may be. And so I was not the biggest fan of the revolution, but I had to give them commendation for that. We're going to take a short break and then we'll be right back.
Prosperity really matters to you. Come home to Grenada Cooperative Bank. Since 1932, we have shared the same values: financial diligence, investing with prudence, transparent compliance, consistent performance.
Welcome home, Grenada.
No matter the economic climb, we always stand the test of time.
Welcome home, Grenada, the bank that goes the extra mile. Welcome home, Grenada, the bank that serves with a smile.
Welcome to a bank you can truly call your own. Grenada Cooperative Bank.
We care because you matter.
Co-op Bank. Welcome home.
Introducing Color by Sissons. 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 Color by Sissons.
If there was ever a time to keep and stay healthy, it's now! We at Hills and Valley are here to help you take deliberate steps to maintain your health. We stayed true to maintaining the most comprehensive rates while stocking the widest range of medicines and health devices, including personal protective equipment. There are so many benefits shopping with us. You get great savings through discounts for senior citizens and reward cards for loyal customers. Ask about owning yours today. Visit us at Halifax and Grenville Street, St. George, Jubilee Street opposite the Grenville Bus Terminal, and at Hillsborough, Carriacou. Our wholesale distribution on Halifax Street also stocks the widest range of pharmaceuticals. We are with you on the hills and in the valleys. We are Hills and Valley Pharmacy.
Have you heard about the new Softweave bathroom tissue with total hygiene? As hygiene and safety have taken center stage, our bathroom tissue is now manufactured with 3 different technologies to offer the best protection for you and your family. UVC light technology for a safe and effective disinfection process, eliminating 99.9% of microorganisms. Also, production at high temperatures, killing all types of germs and bacteria. And it's pH controlled with delicate fibers to prevent irritation for even sensitive skin. Softweave Total Hygiene Bathroom Tissue, available in supermarkets and shops island-wide. Visit Softweave Caribbean Facebook or Instagram pages for more information.
Thank you and welcome back, of course, to Beyond the Headlines. And of course, we've got Pastor Stanford Simon with me, and should let you know that we go back a long way. We don't agree with everything in the world, I must admit, but we're great friends, and that's what it's all about, even if you don't agree. But it's not not a lot of things that we don't agree about anyway.
Not much.
Here and there.
Here and there. A few things.
But we don't get vexed with
No, we don't get vexed with each other. Even when we vex, we still are not vexed.
Yeah, the caller talked, the previous caller talked about with Parliament dissolved. And of course, the Prime Minister did intimate that, you know, that we're not no members of Parliament again. But of course, there is the executive body, and cabinet is in place, and they've got to continue until they're ousted, or if they remain, of course, if they succeed, they continue. If there are additions or deletions, whatever the case is. But until that time, the structure is still in place. So we just want to let our listeners and viewers out there know that things have not gone all over the place.
So it is run by the executive?
Yes.
Which is the cabinet?
Yes. Okay. And of course, there's still the presence of the Attorney General. He's not, you know, the office has not become null and void. So we just thought we'd let people be aware of that. Okay, I think we've got a call on the line, do we? Yes, we have a caller. Caller, good evening.
Yes, good evening. Good evening. Worme and Stanford.
Good evening.
The problem with us that we are taking part in a system that we do not too much understand. You know, you are correct in stating that the country is run by an executive at the moment. Now, government has 3 arms. Our government, the Westminster State government, have 3 arms, right? So one government, you have the executive, which is headed by the Governor General, Prime Minister, and Cabinet. Then you have the legislature. The legislature are those MPs, those people that are elected into office. Now, the problem in Grenada is that the legislature and the executive is one. So we get ourselves tied up with that. Because the same set of people who pass in the laws in Parliament are the same set of people who sit in Cabinet. Some time ago, I spoke of that in the Constitution Review. You have what I may call the legislature, where you have the executive mixed up with the legislature. So, for example, Ms. Pierre is a representative for St. Andrews South East, so she's there to pass laws, but she's also a member of Cabinet as Minister of Education. So that ties us up completely. And then the third arm is the judiciary, right? So 3 arms of government, each of them should be separate. But of course, you know, it's a small country and everybody knows everybody, so we just tie up the thing, right? So even sometimes the executive does tie up the judiciary, and because the executive has to pay the judiciary, you have rulings made in a kind of way, you know, sometimes, right? But we have to understand our system. And unless we spend time understanding our system, we'll keep on making the same mistakes over and over and over. So for example, most people want a prime minister. We're not like America. America votes for a president, and the president is the executive. And then you have the legislature separate again. But we don't do it that way. So we have everything tied up, and as a result, we have a tie-up political system with a set of tie-up people, right? And we do not always get it right. So the government continues in the form of the executive and the judiciary. The legislature that is off balance for the moment.
Okay.
And so, come June 23rd, we'll be picking the legislature. We'll be picking people to represent us, I hope. Rather than picking a prime minister, I hope we'll be picking representatives in each of the constituencies who will stick our interests. I stop for now.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the explanation.
Thank you very much. Yeah, very elucidating anyway, very enlightening.
But political education, I think, is critical for a country. Again, going back to the revolution they spoke about, there was political education there too that we got. I mean,
yes,
it was
that's true. There was political education.
Yes.
However, I had my concerns about the political education.
Well, yeah, it may not
the political education, let's be honest, during the revolution was very much one-sided.
Well,
because there was a particular ideology. Right. So the political education basically leaned in the direction of that ideology.
But the point is there was political education.
Yeah, it was. I remember attending, I attended the political education because it was in fact mandatory.
Yes.
So we met at the public library. I think it was on Wednesdays. Gosh, was it once a month? I can't quite remember. But we had to attend it. And it was, as I said, very one-sided. It didn't give you an opportunity to to see the broader scope of things. So that was my concern about it. But I do agree with you, Stanford. We need to be much more politically educated.
But now we are free to do it. Why are we not doing it?
Because I don't think that, I really don't think that a lot of our leaders are honest enough to allow people to be fully educated about policies and programs, etc., etc. I think we want people to know only what we want them to know so that they could be easily swayed. But if we're thinking about the future and we're thinking about the development of our country, there need to be a holistic education. There probably need to be a lot of changes too in regards to our laws, how the country is being run. All of those things we've got to look at.
So long, okay, I agree with you. But then why is we as pastors and churches, if we see that as lacking, why then we cannot help to educate persons so we can have better persons going out there?
And I do agree with you. I think we're on the same limb.
But why are we not doing it?
We're not doing it because...
Why?
Again, sometimes it may have to do with the fact of people's own understanding of politics and the dynamics.
Understanding of politics.
Yeah, that's the truth.
It is, because, and that's where the problem lies.
Okay, so let's hold on there for a while. We've got a caller on the line. Good evening. Caller, good evening. Oh, we may have missed that caller. Yeah, and yes, I remember I said earlier on that I do agree with you. The educational process should never be restricted simply to schools.
Right.
You know, home, church, communities. All of those factors play a significant role in the whole educational process. Caller, good evening. Thanks for calling. Thanks for holding.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Pastor Worme. Good evening, Pastor Simon.
Good evening.
Pastor Simon, I particularly want to congratulate you. You're an open-minded chappie. I should say chappie, sorry. Man of God. I think the church is dormant, is too dormant in this nation. It's like a sleeping giant. And I believe the church has a lot of blame to take for Grenada's demise at this present point in time. Another thing, it is alleged, hear the word, that evangelical leaders some time ago received some monetary kickback from the administration. Would any one of you want to speak to this? Another thing, what advice would you like to give to your fellow church leaders in relation to speaking to the congregation regarding what to do this general election? What would you like to say to them? Because I suspect, because man is a longing animal, I suspect that there are some leaders, particularly evangelical leaders, who are encouraging the members to vote one way or the other. And I think this is not good. So what advice would you like to give your colleague church leaders in that regard? Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's see whether we can spend a minute or two on this. So first I should let you know, caller, that I have not received any monies in regards to the government and pushing governmental agenda, as the case may be. So I don't know if that is true, and I'm glad you said that it's alleged. So I really don't know about that one. I really cannot say so. I also believe, quite frankly, that pastors, religious leaders for that matter, they've got a right, and not just a right, but a responsibility to guide their people. We do not just guide people in spiritual matters, but there are other matters, and I'm talking holistically now, that we need to guide them. There are people who come to me, quite frankly, and ask me my thoughts, even in regards to voting, and they would say to me, I trust you enough to guide me along. What I do in those cases is to guide them. And I said, listen to what is being said, because you have to be also a responsible individual. Don't just sit down and say, hey, I want you to tell me what to do. To me, that's backwardness. But you must be able to sit and to be able to decipher and try to glean and garner very important information and data that will be pertinent to your overall development. So I do believe that. But while that is the case, they've got some genuine people who want guidance from religious leaders, and religious leaders must be prepared to non-partially guide them. And if you see that there is a system, there is, maybe activities that are not healthy for an individual, and it doesn't have to be just a member of your congregation, not just a congregant, but anybody for that matter, you as a responsible person, you should guide that person along the correct path, the better path, so to speak, so that that individual at least can be exposed to good virtue and good decisions, etc., etc. So I do guide people, and if they come to me, I would not just say to them, "Man, go and do what your mind tell you." No, that's not very responsible at all.
I don't tell people who to vote for, but I help them to understand how they should make the decision. And it's important that you do as a leader. And I think it leads to the bigger picture, and was mentioned by the caller before, or this caller. If the churches in Grenada come together, and maybe half of the churches, or the 400 plus churches we have in Grenada, decide these are the three issues that are important to us as churches. These are the three things. Which of the political parties would champion these three causes, these three issues, in the next 5 years of election? I bet you we would have a change in the way things are done by politicians in this country. Because the church has a huge population. If they decide and leaders said this is what, and then they say if you're not supporting it, we tell our people do not support you on it, because this is important to us as church, as a nation, and for people and for our congregants. It's important to them, and because of that, I mean, I just politics, or paying church politics. We talk about things that are important to the country. We talk about the religious now, things that are important to us as a country. We would have a change. And my point is that we have not done that.
Okay, so just to remind listeners, because we've got radio listeners, 440-1252. I should have done that a little bit more regularly, 440-1252. So please, you can give us a call. We still got another 25 or so minutes on the program. You'll hang on with us, Stanford?
I hear it.
We've got a call on the line. Good evening. Caller, go right ahead.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Worme. With your permission, just to make 2 brief comments on a less fervent note. Listen, 2 things came up in your conversations a while ago. One gentleman asked, why is it that the legislature has been dissolved, but the same set of people running the ministries through the executive? This is a very powerful observation, my dear brother. I congratulate you on it. The country should be run at this point in time by the public service. The senior official, the officials of the public service, headed by the senior administrative officer, permanent secretaries within these ministries. Because here's why. We hired the people whose term has just ended as legislators, but they got their jobs as ministers because they were legislators. If your term as a legislator ends, your term as a minister has to end. Significant point, brother, and I want you to think of it. These are the things we have to look at. Why I insist that we have to reconstitute this country, because this PLP of a constitution here does not serve our purpose, and it is the cause of the abuse, and we have to change it. The second thing I want to refer to is that I get an old, you know. But anyway, let's see if you remember. I may come back.
That's fine. Now, it's interesting what Citizen Rollo has just intimated. It really is very, not just interesting, it's very important. And not only that, there's other constitutional matters which we need to review. And we've been talking about it a long time, you know, constitutional reviews. There's some people who are saying, well, we're not ready for it. But if we're not ready for it, when are we going to be ready for it? Shall we continue to be governed by something that can't really govern us us anymore. We've moved on. We're not in the same era. We're no longer back in 1958 or back in 1963.
The persons who give us that constitution, they have reviewed the constitution a number of times.
And we're still in the backdrop. Yes. Hi, we've got another call on the line. Good evening, caller.
Good night.
Good night.
Listen to the program, and I have a few questions and some observations.
Yes.
For one, the church is supposed to be a powerful body in any country. And I just listened to you all today. There's over 400 churches in Grenada. And there are a lot of things that is happening in the country that is not justifiable. But I've never seen the church get together and say they're going to protest or stand up with the people. I mean, as ministers that is right now listening to y'all are saying one thing, but y'all actions do something totally different. Tell me one instance where the church itself has gotten together and stand with the people of the nation. And there's no time that never happened. So listening to your program now is no different to the government. You're saying one thing and your actions say something totally different.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, caller. But we also have to, and I'm not here in defense, we also have to understand in regards to when we say the church, and may I also say that everybody doesn't have the same conviction. You've got different religious bodies, and it might be amazing to know how contrasting the religious understanding and religious bodies might be to one another. Don't have the same conviction, may not have the same doctrinal stance, and that's also important. And your doctrinal stance will also affect and have impact on the way that you behave and what you may feel convicted about participating in and getting involved in, that sort of thing. So we've got to be careful, and as I say, I'm not here in strict defense, but sometimes we hear about the church and we feel that the church is every religious body across the country. I'm going to come to you, Stanford. Stay right there, don't lose your point, but we don't want to keep anybody online for too long. Caller, good evening, thanks for holding. Yeah, did we miss that caller? Okay, so Stano, quickly.
No, the question of why. There are churches who do not believe involvement in politics, period. There are churches who don't believe in voting. They don't get involved voting. So people have to understand there are different beliefs, but there are those of us who believe that we should get involved in many ways. And therefore, yes, there are publicly the church may not get involved. The Conference of Churches got involved in a number of things. The evangelical churches got involved in a number of things, negotiating and helping government and the public service or the unions to resolve issues. So I cannot agree with the caller that the churches have not gotten involved. We have.
I do agree. He may not be aware of
but the church has gotten involved.
Caller, good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. How are you, pastors?
Good evening.
I want to make an observation. And, looking at the state of our country, one of the facts I want to remind my people that we have emerged out of a period of 400 years of slavery. 400 years of slavery. We are about 200 years after emancipation and almost 50 years after independence. And I don't think, if we look at the progress that we're supposed to make in terms of managing the natural resources that we have as a country, we have failed miserably. Now, one of the problems when you look at Grenada is no longer a country. What a country is supposed to, there's supposed to be a fabric that holds a country together. A country is supposed to be developed just like your body. You have your hand, your foot, your eyes, your nose. This is how a country is supposed to be composed. Different aspects coming together to propel you into the future, so that the future generation can look and have a foundation on which they will be able to walk. But what you have now, we had the revolution try to do what they had to do. Gary did a little bit. But in recent times, we have regressed dramatically, and it's a shame. where we are now. And we don't live in isolation. Look at Germany. The Germans have developed Germany, with Germany educating the people for the industries in Germany. The Chinese have developed China by educating their people for the industries in China. That's why they're able to dominate the world with exports and everything else. Look at us as Grenada. We have the same opportunities. We have the United University of the West Indies. It is a shame that children go to secondary school and they go to TAMCC and they have no idea of the cadre of subjects that U is offering so that they could make proper choices. It is a shame. I don't know how we can look at this country and every February we go and we talk about independence. What? You know, for the past 30 years, we have regressed. We have not done anything. We had a produce chemist lab that is supposed to train entrepreneurs. This is how our country is developed by entrepreneurs. Japan, entrepreneurs, that 70% of the productivity comes from entrepreneurs. But what we have done in this country, we have deliberately stifled our entrepreneurs. I mean, it is very sad and it's a shameful. When you look at what Barbados, who have much less than us, the amount of money that they make from their tourism industry, and maybe they have about 70% less than what we have. But where are we in terms of tourism? And these are the things that the youth, the problem is people do not know what they're supposed to have. And that is the problem. For the past 30 years, the fabric of this country, so young people will grow up and say, okay, I want to take part in this aspect, I want to do this, I want to do that. It is no longer there. The Philippines,
okay,
what they do, I almost finished, what they do with their citizens, they train them in all aspects, every aspect. So any country that wants labor, professional labor, they send to the Philippines. Look at, we had them working on our spree. I mean, 100,000 people. You need all these ministers to manage 100,000 people. And they were talking about St. David, it's too much a big what thing they want to divide it into, which is madness. So what kind of brain do we have? We're living in Stone Age mentally and psychologically and spiritually, and we have to come out of that. It is sad, but let us look at the big picture and stop, groveling in the dust. God didn't make us to grovel in the dust. Okay. It hurts me, because you have a set of people
caller, don't go much longer. The others that we want to call in.
And partying. This is not what we're about. This is not what we're supposed to be about. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Quite a number of salient contributions.
Yeah, he's correct. I mean, looking at a number of them in terms of some of the things he said, I mean, planning is important for us to plan. We're not doing the proper planning, so the execution is poor of where we are. Training, and that's what I said. I remember in the revolution, they used to identify what are the skill set they would need in the country.
We got to take a break. Caller, good evening. Thanks for holding. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Worme. Just briefly, the point I missed a while ago, I was able to contribute to. It has to do with education, which you were speaking about.
Okay.
I want to distinguish between, quote-unquote, civil education and partisan, political, or ideological education. You made reference to the revolution. They taught ideological education, the way they wanted to go, and they wanted to force it on everybody. And I reckon this is one of the reasons why you were made to go and so on to this meeting. But what we need in this country because we have passed the stage of the revolution, is civil education, which begins and, should I say, has to begin at school. The people of this country from children must know who they are, their nationality, what it means, to be a citizen of the country and what it means, what they ought to do as a citizen, to love your country, to be patriotic. No, it doesn't mean that you wouldn't have other ideologies, but you choose that based on your development and your personal interest. But civil education, how the country should run, how it should be run as a within the Caribbean, as a region, how it should be run within the Caribbean and in the world, civil education. This is extremely important for us. And I just end by saying this. Simon Bolivar, in his wisdom in 1824, said the following words: a country only marches at the pace of its education, meaning the inculcation of knowledge and information to bring out the best from within. We have failed miserably. As to the church, I retract the word church. I ask you gentlemen this last question in going. Can you tell us what trustworthiness, or should I say, let me track that, what untrustworthiness has done to this country? Can you see why we are where we are today if untrustworthiness has played any part in the current state of our little country? As a little nyapita, a nyapa is a tip. Enjoy yourself and have a nice evening, will you, gentlemen?
Thank you very much, Citizen Rodo.
It is important for us to also come to grips with this fact about our country and us as Grenadians, as a people. We do not read. We're not a reading population. We're not a population that is excited about knowledge, wanting to learn, explore, wanting to be and become something that is unique to me. I want to create something. We tend to be more for copycat society. We want to copy what other people are doing, and therefore we are caught in a web of a circle that then we fighting to get out. But we must get out, otherwise it will destroy us.
Sure, right. We've got another caller. Good evening, caller.
Good evening. Two callers have expressed.
Yeah, could you just lift your volume a little, please, sir?
Two callers have already expressed how the government is run. We have what you call a cabinet of ministers after the dissolution of Parliament. Really and truly shouldn't be like that. It really should be the public service running, as Mr. Rudo said. But on the other hand, people going about saying they are MPs. There are no more MPs once Parliament have been dissolved. There are three positions that the Constitution acknowledges: the Prime Minister, her Majesty's representative, and her Majesty Lord Opposition. It hurts me to say Her Majesty and everything in Grenada, but that is a different story. But these are the only three positions that actually exist after the dissolution of Parliament. No one should be called. I hear people on the radio, when I say people, workers at the radio station, media people, whatever, referring to Senator this or the MP. There is no senator. Senators, MPs, everything ceased to exist on the dissolution of Parliament. Another thing we should learn that people don't know, honorable, in the sense of when you call a parliamentarian or an honorable, that is restricted to the houses of Parliament. When you step out and you go to food fair, and I'm talking even before Parliament is dissolved. When you step out of Parliament, first and you go to food fair, you go to buy a bunch of figure and a fig in the market, you are not honorable. If I choose to call you two gentlemen honorable because I know you are honorable, that is a different story. I believe you to be honorable people, so I could say that honorable gentleman. Honorable in terms of Parliament is restricted to the houses of Parliament, and people think they are the honorable minister and the honorable whatever. Do that when you're in Parliament. That is something we don't seem to know, neither the media people, nothing. And no one has to take my word for it. They simply have to go research it. It is a straightforward and simple matter. And there are no more MPs. Everything ceases to exist until Parliament is, well, people are reappointed by the Governor General. But the country runs because everything has to be paid, bills have to be paid, etc. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller.
Well said.
Very much well said. But again, you look at how our country is set up and all the laws and constitutional issues surrounding our country is set up. Again, it's interesting because one of the callers made the observation, or rather suggesting that there need to be civic education in the country. Something, in fact, that used to happen in the past.
Yes.
Now it's no more.
When I used to go to primary school, we civic education was part of the curriculum.
Yes, but it's no more because we don't think it's important. It's important. It's probably no longer valid. We've got another call on the line. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. There are three powers of humanity: wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. It's not everybody who have it. So that's why it's like that. You understand? We have to have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Because I have 3 certificates. One from a lawyer, one from the lab, and one from Bureau of Standards. I went in the garden one day, and I look at the spinach, and I make wine from it, and I get my certificate from Bureau of Standards from Mr. Collins. So you understand, going to school is one, but God give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So you have to have it. Because people ask me if I went to convent. I never go to convent. I never have combination. I never get a chance to go for combination. I don't have no school even. I just do things and I just get through, and God give me wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and I just come through what I'm doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. It's not always about academia, and education is much broader than we think. It's not just about secondary or primary or third education. Education is much broader and much more powerful.
There are some people who are excellent with their hands, but if you give them in the academic field, they are very, and if you give the person to go in the field that the person using their hand, they cannot do it. Right. And therefore we all are not the same. I think persons need to understand that we all are not the same, and therefore, and that's why it's also important, I think, in our schools, that teaching people outside. We used to have the 4-H group. We had woodwork. Those are things used to be in primary school, and they move away from these things, and therefore persons come, the only thing they have to get subjects. But when they get a subject and they come to work, it's a problem. They don't do nothing.
That's true. Well, we've got our final caller tonight because it's getting close to that top of the hour. So caller, you're honored to be the last one tonight. Go right ahead.
Okay, good night. How are you all doing?
Very good.
Okay, well, I look at some things with these politicians, especially with the campaigning, and I think this is very bad for the country. I mean, over the years, they don't have money to do things to develop the young people, to send them to studies, to do programs. But election coming up, you find they spend so much money bringing along artists so that the young people could go and jump up. Now, after they don't jump up, what next? Where is their future lies? I think all those monies they use to do all those things around election to campaigns, they should save those money to do other things so that the young people could benefit in the future. This is my contribution.
Thank you very much.
Listen, it's politics. It is election. Every side have to win. It's a numbers game. And that's the reality of one campaigning. And that's the right of every political party to win over the votes of the majority of the people in the country for which they seek. And I am not blaming them for using whatever means that they need to use and the financial backing that they get to be able to win at the polls. That that's their right, and that is what they are to get. A person going to run a race, you want to win, and you would train hard, do what's necessary to win, and therefore whichever.
But you want to win legally too, don't you?
Of course, you want to use legally. Is they're doing anything illegal? I don't know. I don't know of any party, as far as I know, doing anything illegal. They are doing what any political party will do if you have the resources. If you're in government, there are things you're going to do. If you're not in government, there are things you'll do. It's just the way that it is. I think it's for us as Grenadians to now decide in our mind, look ourselves in the mirror and decide what we want for our future. We have two political parties setting two different agendas.
Well, two major
political parties here, and we as individually have to decide who are we going to elect to guide this country in the next 5 years.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Pastor Stanford Simon. And we want to really thank everybody for calling in, and those of you who have given clarity on subject matters that came up, we want to thank you so very much. The truth is, election is just a few days away, and there are still some people who are sitting on the fence, undecided. Election may come and go, and these individuals may still be there on the fence, undecided. Well, you can't really snub them, and you can't be upset with them per se. Everybody's got their own rights to decide whether they should vote or whether they should not vote. And that certainly is right down the alley of your rights, and so we understand it. But whatever the case is, I would like to say to all and sundry that you are a citizen of this country, and if you've got the right to vote, you should do so. We're not going to chide and get angry with anybody who decides not to. Whatever the case is, there must be a sense of patriotism, and I would like to hear that word brought back into our country, to be patriots. Love this country, and everything that we can do in our power to ensure that our country progresses and our country goes forward, we should do that. My admonition, however, is go out there and vote. Which of the parties impresses you the most, and you feel convicted that they've got some solutions to some of our problems here, and they're the right people to be put there, then you should go out there and do that. I want to thank everybody who has called in this evening to our program. We still got one more program to go before elections, and we just want to let you know that we will be here, God's willing, election day, election night, so that we can bring the results to the people. God bless. It was a pleasure having you, and my co-pilot. Hey, it was a pleasure having you.
It's a pleasure being with you too. God bless.
Have a good one.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good one. Until next week, same time, same place. Stephenson, Worme, Simon, signing out.
They are the few, the strong, the elite. Grenada, get ready as our sporting gladiators go for gold.